should be live. Just check the Twitch. Yep, looks like it's live.
God fucking damn, I'm sick of bridging. This ain't the way we should be living. I don't wanna think of all the shit I'm missing when I spend all day just bridging. I wanna go to the land of abstraction, where all the pipes and beams are hidden, where my self-custody is a given, and it's built upon a foundation, decentralization. Oh, I'm so sick of bridging. Jesus fucking Christ, damn it. I'm so sick of bridging. Jesus fucking Christ, damn it. Is your bridge a multi-sig that you just play too dangerous? Oh, I'm so sick of bridging. God fucking damn, I'm sick of bridging. With all the fractures and the fission. You think I wanna be here singing about how I'm fucking sick of bridging? I could be out there on my mission, writing songs for anyone who will listen. Instead it's all these buttons that I'm hitting, when I spend all day just bridging. God damn it. Oh, I'm so sick of bridging. Jesus fucking Christ, damn it. I'm so sick of bridging. Jesus fucking Christ, damn it. Is your bridge a multi-sig that you just played too dangerous? I'm so sick of bridging. Jesus fucking Christ, damn it.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Market Capping. Before I bring small cap up, let's just play the intro video. I have a new computer, so if things get all hectic, my bad. But let's play the video.
GM Anon, welcome to today's episode of Market Capping. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind you that I'm not your mom, and nor are any of the speakers on this show. Nothing you hear today is financial advice. You should be a big kid now. Make your own decisions, do your own research, and assume every crypto coin you buy will result in complete losses. If you ever plan on holding anyone other than yourself responsible for your choices, please navigate to the top of your browser window where you'll find the friendly red close button. And now, let the episode begin.
All right, there we have it. Small cap, can you hear me?
And how's it
Nice.
going?
Good. I can hear you too, so I think we are rolling. I think all is well. Man, it's been a minute. I think last episode we did had a guest, so it's been a while since we've done one of these just alpha calls kind of things.
Yeah, good to be back. I'm a little sick, so I apologize to all of you having to listen to me. Like I'll try and mute when I'm hacking over here, but couldn't cancel after being away for so long and then hyping it up. So it feels good to be back though.
Nice, good. And we got our new Anatas up. So you can see I got mine. Small Cap's got his 2.0 up. He just set it up right before this call, so that was good news. But one thing I wanted to show off before we got started is the new pets. I was supposed to bring up like 3 or 4 different pets, but I was also in a bit of a rush, so I didn't get to. But I have this green grass type pet loaded up, and it's really cool. Like I can make it run around the screen, and it moves its mouth while I move my mouth. Oh, nice. Are you using your hand tracking?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
I
been
missed the
drinking
hand
coffee
tracking.
for most of it.
Oh,
So
that's sick. Yeah. Wave your hands in the air.
uh,
Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. Yeah, so they track your hands now with small cap has set up. I didn't set up my camera for hand tracking yet, but I have my pet up. You can like show and hide things like the grass, and my favorite feature is feeding it stuff. So I have the burger and chomp, chomp, chomp. I love that so much. And then there's like obviously the regular reacts. You can like dance while it runs around the screen and things like that. But yeah, this Anata's going good. So hopefully people are getting excited and using them and enjoying them. I think I always like a market capping because we get to show off all the recent updates. Soon we'll have the 3D models and swag coming after that.
I
But
need a
yeah,
pet. I'll
yeah,
work
you
on
need
that
to
for
get
next
yourself a pet.
episode.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like a bunch, so we can set you up with whichever one you want, so you can play with it and use it and try it.
Yeah. Love that.
Cool, dude.
Let's dive in.
Yeah. So, what have you been trading? Are you all in on Bitcoin? How have you been playing this ETF?
No, I'm probably underexposed to Bitcoin compared to most people. I think about it quite often, but I've been playing alts more than I have Bitcoin, especially lately. I do have exposure there, but I think the ETF like has a good chance to send things. But I also I don't know. I've just been focusing so much on like I want to say ventures, like different ventures that are in the market,
Nice.
um, and a lot of the alts out there that are bringing liquidity. Like I've really been focusing on liquidity markets, whether it's really I want to say some of the DeFi, the older DeFi ones like Curve, Convex,
Oh, damn.
Balancer, looking
You're
at
going
some of
back
those,
in.
and then 100%. And I mean, yeah, I'm looking at some of the, I would say, older projects, but also like been diving into liquidity markets that are coming down the pipe. I think that's where I've been focusing the majority of my time. And I'm under the really my stigma is kind of the more liquidity that comes to the market. Like if you're thinking of something like the ETF, like that is just really a lot of volume and more liquidity that's going to be coming. So I think it's a good thing, but also like when I look at that from a smaller market, I think that there's tons of value that's coming down the pipe, and I'm trying to follow some of that more on chain. But
Okay, so
we can get into it.
are you buying like Aura directly or Convex directly, or you think a new flywheel is needed? Like one of the bigger
I
problems was Convex Aura launched, they went all Ponzi, and that worked really well because emissions were higher than bribes, so they could people could bribe the pools. People thought there's native revenues, but then once the kind of flywheel started going the other way, it was bad news bears, right? And we've seen Convex kind of do decently because they've managed to launch more and more ecosystems. Like Convex launched Prisma Convex, which worked pretty good for them. They have the Frax one. I think they probably have a few more in the pipeline, and it all kind of delivers value back to the same token. So it's no longer just stuck to Curve. You can manage your liquidity on multiple platforms just with one Convex token. But Aura, on the other hand, has kind of been trapped in Balancer's ecosystem, and I think they tried to do Pancake, but that didn't work. And Balancer itself hasn't done the best job, so I feel like they're in a much more difficult place.
Yeah, and I mean you're not wrong. I think I was really early to Convex last cycle, and that's also one of the like I don't own a ton of Convex right now, but it's one that I'm watching pretty closely. If you
Hmm.
look at the chart, it's just been coiling at like $3 for like 2 years. Like the chart itself, like to me, looks like there's only one way it's going to end up going. And like I think what a lot of people discount is like when you're talking about the flywheel and them like overpaying for rewards to suck up a lot of the curve supply. Like I 1,000% agree with that, but it's way more heavily diluted now. Like right now, there's about 82 million CVX in circulation with a max supply of 100 million. So you're
Hmm.
talking, it's like 82% diluted. It owns the majority of the curve that's out there. On top of that, Prisma, I think to me is groundbreaking. I think the issue with Prisma is like they're going to need a ton of liquidity
Yeah,
because of their
my issue with Prisma is
MKUSD.
just like if you look at Prisma on CoinGecko or like the market cap versus the current price, you can see that the although the price has kind of been stable, right? Oh, sorry, I just looked at the
Yep.
stable coin, sorry. The market cap is like up only. So they're emitting very quickly, right? So like prices
Yeah.
kind of been, oh well,
Agreed.
I guess that doesn't work. Prices always like hovered around $1, had its spikes and its drops, but the market cap separately is way up, right? It's like inverted to the price where a $1 before was like a 2 mil cap. Now $1 is suddenly a 15 mil cap. So if I buy Prisma, I better make sure I'm getting emissions. Otherwise, like I don't expect Prisma to like triple, but I do expect to get good emissions from it. So the Prisma I do have that I farmed, I just put in the Convex CVX Prisma pool because it emits at like 250% APR. I don't really see that as APR, but I expect price to stay similarly, and then the extra Prisma I get to be my profits is kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I when you say I don't think it'll triple, like I would almost disagree with you there.
Really?
And like part of it's just like I understand where you're coming from of like, hey, like there's a lot of emissions that need to be had, but I
Yeah.
think Convex helps offset it, and I think that's the benefit of Convex right now. They can suck a lot of that up, and I think they're actually getting it at a discount because like I think price will actually go up. When you look at the FDV of Convex right now, it's 250 million, and like I look at that as kind of like a DeFi blue chip. Like I mean, it controls so much liquidity like in the markets, like it all really stable coin flows like go through Curve, and it's like the biggest holder. And then you're talking about Prisma, like on top of it, where they have all of these like LSTs that are being deposited and they're making a stable coin against it. Like I think they own and control so much liquidity in the market, and 250 million as a market cap to me is kind of a joke. When you back up to like where Curve and Convex got even during the bull market, like those were well over like 200 or $2 billion market caps. Like I think there's X's that those can go from here, and like
Hmm.
the more that they suck up ahead of time, the better. And when I look at Prisma, like kind of where I would say that that's going is like, yeah, you can deposit hundreds of millions of dollars in like these LSTs, earn yield, borrow a stable coin against it. But where they run into a little bit of an issue is like, how do you have enough liquidity for people to leave that stable coin? Like, when you're talking about there's like MKUSD, if you're borrowing $100 million of it, which is a bit of a stretch, but over like a bunch of customers, like that can be a thing. Like, how do they exit that? And they once again need liquidity. And like where I've been focusing a lot of my time, and I think a lot of the market's going is Omni Pools. Like I think there's going to be a massive push back to that market, and I've been tracking a lot of those pretty closely. So I think everybody forgot about Conic Finance. I think that's a
Oh yeah.
perfect example.
So what's the
Like
story on
it's
Conic? Is it the cur so sorry, rewinding, I guess.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
On the Prisma side, one of my biggest copes in this most recent market was I got offered Prisma seed and I passed on it. And then when Prisma came out, I like basically aggressively farmed it because of the cope. And I managed to get like a decent bag just by farming it. But the reason I passed on it was because I felt like it was too similar to Curve USD. I saw that the Curve guys were going to support it, but I didn't understand the difference between like minting MKUSD versus minting Curve USD. Like both of them you can mint against LSTs, so why would you need a different stable than Curve USD? But then I understood that in this case, oftentimes you kind of just need a fresh flywheel to get things going, to have emissions to like make things restart again.
Sure.
And I missed that this was kind of like an attempt at a fresh start, and it could do what Convex did last time, right? Like Convex Curve, they have the weight of the previous emissions behind them, which limits their growth.
Well,
Whereas Prisma doesn't have previous emissions that could be dumping on you, but there are a lot of future emissions, right? And like I said before, although I don't think price is gonna like to us, price hasn't 3x, it's still at $1. But actually, price has more than done multiples because it started at a 2 mil cap and it's already a 15 mil cap, but the price is still the same. So for the like investors and whatnot, it has already done multiples. So just be a little bit wary there. And then on the
so I'm
Conic
not even
side,
saying. Hi, hold on. On that one, like I'm not even saying. I think your example is perfect, but
yeah,
like I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Like I would
okay,
say on that piece of like when you're looking at Prisma and like what Prisma can do, look at Prisma like Curve last cycle. Like Conic is what unlocked all the value for Prisma, and I think it's the same thing again. Like I think Conic's sucking up all the Prisma, and
yeah,
it's going to unlock all the value again. I don't think
yeah,
like Prisma's the new flywheel. I think Prisma's the new Curve, and then like you're going to have Conic that owns both of them, or Convex, excuse me,
and then
Convex that
Conic
owns
can be
both of
the
them. That's
Convex.
still be a new. Exactly. That's going to
Yeah,
Convex is going to be the one that unlocks the value of Prisma because they're not eating the dilution, and that's what kicks in the second
yeah,
flywheel.
yeah.
But I think people are missing that narrative. But go
No,
ahead, continue
that
onto the Conic piece.
That's exactly what I was saying before. Is that's what I missed is that you have fresh starts on these tokens, whereas you don't have the weight of previous curve and convex emissions on them. and so it was a mistake to have passed. But anyways, I farmed the shit out of it, and I have a bunch, and I continue to farm it. Um,
Love that.
so yeah, on Conic's side, what's the story there? Is it who is building Conic? Like it's rumored to have been related closely to the Curve teams. It rumored some people think it's them themselves. Like, what's the story there?
So I thought it was them themselves. I
Okay,
was
nice.
in that boat, and like a lot of it for me is the UI. The UI is absolutely awesome. Like it's like looks like more of like an old school like Macintosh like UI compared to like Curve, which is old school Windows, and like there was a lot of connections there of
Yeah,
like, hey, it works directly.
the UI was an ode to Curve for sure.
Yeah, I mean it definitely was, and it's an impressive UI, which is like there's not many teams that I feel like would put this much time into a UI
Hmm.
and like do it this well. So I was like, all right, this might be the actual Curve team. Turns out, like I think, oh, the other thing was on their multi-sig. There's a few people who are like, I would say very close to the Curve team, or have gotten grants from the Curve team. Like, there's a few people I know that are like kind of cross-pollinating there. So like that to me was like, all right, like there's some alarm bells going off. They ended up having an exploit. Like it ended up going to like $12 at one point and was doing extremely well. They got exploited based off of I can't think of the actual cause. It was something to do with like their Oracle with ETH prices, I believe, and like how they were calling, or APIs calling off of like Curve's prices. Um, but they ran into a ton of issues there. Like they haven't put a full proposal out yet of who, then put a full proposal out of how they're going to repay some of that. But what ended up happening is Michael from Curve invested $1 million, which at the time I believe, based off of market caps, probably about 5% of 5% of the total supply. As of right now, he owns, I think, like 35% of all locked Conic, like VL Conic. And like they've already done 2 votes recently to say like, all right, when we relaunch with our V2, here's
Yeah.
the ETH like assets that we're going to use, as well as CRV USD and like Frax USD. So like or Frax ETH and yeah, you have it up right there. CRV USD, Frax, like all the assets they'll be launching their V2 with. And there's one more vote. It's coming like this week, I think. Based off of like what I've read in the Discord, it should be coming this week for them to relaunch on V2 now that they've done all of these votes. So
Nice.
I think
Okay,
they're in a pretty good spot there.
yeah, let's
Oh,
not spend the whole episode on Conic, but I totally agree.
no,
People should take a second
I
look at Conic, and V2 is launching, but
Well, so I just sent you a quick link in the Discord too. There's a
okay.
few of these out there.
Yeah.
Like there's like Zunami. Like I don't know as much clear like about it, but there were some, once again, people in this angel round. Like what I think is important is all of these apps like Prisma, CRV, USD. They're getting exit liquidity for their USD stablecoins based off of these Omni Pool assets, and these are what you guys should be tracking. Of they're going to unlock a ton of value for the ecosystem. So I I'm tracking a ton of Omni Pool protocols, and I
Okay,
think it
what
unlocks.
is an Omni Pool?
Oof, that's going to open another
Give
can
me
of
like a
worms.
one cent. What does it
So
seem like a regular like
I'll give you like a 3 sentence. So
okay.
like with Convex, you vote for like USDC and Frax, and you're voting to push a percentage of emissions towards that LP.
Yeah.
With Omnipools, say like I'm farming Omnipools, I deposit USDC, and your vote votes directly where that USDC will be allocated.
Oh,
So
I understand.
Omnipools,
It's
you're
kind of like
not voting for
tokenized.
the LP rewards. Yeah, you're voting
Okay.
where to deposit that specific
Yeah, yeah, that
LP.
makes sense. Cool.
It's more efficient, in my
Awesome.
opinion. But all
Okay,
right, let's
that's
keep
cool.
rolling.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the answer there is take a second look at Conic, take a look at Prisma. These could be like the curve convexes of this cycle, and then look at other Omnipool protocols because it might be a better way to direct liquidity. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is layer ones. So for me, like this growth of Say kind of made me feel like I gotta find every layer one and make sure we're all over the launches of them, right? Um, because we saw Solana go from like 10 to 100. We saw Say do like this multi-billion dollar FDV outcome when it was trading far below and secondaries before that. So I'm getting excited for new L1s. The ones that I have my eyes on in the near term is the main one I have my eyes on near term is obviously Barachain because we had them on MarketCapping. We chat with them a lot. I think a lot of the crypto Twitter community likes them. So I think people are excited for that. And I saw a bunch of tweets the other day, kind of showing that testnet is coming soon. I don't know if it actually is, but like Smokey's literally saying stuff like, let me try to bring it up one sec. Maybe it's
GM
nope,
Anon.
that's not what I wanted. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Yeah, Barachain testnet coming soon is what. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this guy is saying Barachain testnet's coming soon. He thinks it'll come like tomorrow, and this was from yesterday. So this guy thinks it's today, which would be crazy. And then Smokey also tweeted, "We love tasting nets," and so I feel like that's an allusion to testing nets. Um, so if Barachain testnet comes soon, then I think that might be a cool thing to try to use. Maybe they'll do like some airdrop or things like that. He's also tweeted that they'll be explicit on if something is going to be incentivized or not. So I would just watch his Twitter account, and if he says it's incentivized, then it might be fun to use the testnet there. And then once the chain launches, is there any projects on there that you got your eyes on?
So I haven't tracked Barachain nearly as closely as I should have, and that's like on my list of places to dive in.
Nice.
I've heard nothing but good things about everybody who I've talked to about Barachain now.
Yeah.
I also think that one's got the kind of the meme ability is as soon as it starts to catch on,
Yeah.
it's going to do well. Like,
I would
so
say
I
like the most
still,
bearish thing about it is actually the name. I think it started as like a meme and everything, but now people kind of think it's too much of a meme that they don't believe it's going to be like good and unique. But they actually have a lot of unique mechanisms like this proof of liquidity stuff. It feels like a much more robust version of Canto in my mind.
100%. Like, and I really like the proof of liquidity. It's been once again like probably I'm gonna say like 6 months since I've looked into some of that, but like that's kind of just building off a thesis of like follow the liquidity in the markets, and that's where a lot of the large traders are going to focus. So,
Yeah,
um,
totally.
I,
It's kind of aligns with
well,
what you were saying before. One of the projects I was looking at is this one, Infrared. So I seeded them recently, but they basically should be like the Lido or the Convex of the chain. But I would just check out their Twitter, Infrared Finance, and read the Medium article, walks through what they do. But I expect a lot of the like with Bera, how it works is there's three tokens. There's BGT, Bera, and Honey. And I think you have to lock your BGT to get the rewards underlying. So they're basically gonna be like a liquid locker for BGT, which kind of is the Lido like narrative there. So that's the first project I invested in. I'm looking at a few more now and trying to get my hands on a few others pre-launch, but I think it'll be another ecosystem that I want to bet on. Then
yeah, I
outside
think
of
that one's going to do
Barachain,
well.
other layer ones, uh, Inisha seems like it's starting to heat up, and I think that one will be massive. What's their Twitter? Have
So
you
they're
looked at
technically a
them
layer
yet?
two. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I introduced
I'm
you
a
to them,
fan of
right?
those guys. Yeah, you
Yes,
did. So
very good.
they're doing like a layer two for like really all the projects in the Cosmos ecosystem and
Yes, it's like a
giving them all the
OP.
tooling that they need. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like OP stack, but for Cosmos. So you end up with a omni chain kind of whatever meme you want to call it, multi chain setup all in one chain. Um, but yeah, I would just
Yeah.
check out their Twitter and follow them for now. They've just came out of stealth and they were working very closely with Binance for their original build. But I think this will be a big outcome too. So I want to be all over projects that launch here. So if you know anyone that's launching here, let me know so I can be part of that too. Any other
Yeah.
layer ones you're looking at?
I really did like those guys, and I
Nice.
think it solves a lot of the issues for like Cosmos and Atom on like some of the builders there. So I was a fan, and I
Oh, hello. I think we lost small cap. Give me a sec. Let me just message him. I'm gonna try to call him back. Um, Give me a sec, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna keep running the show, and I'll let him message me. Once he does, I'll try to give him another ring. But yeah, Inisha is another layer one that I think is probably worth taking a look at. And then as Rasu said in the chat, Manta has been picking up. So Manta got a bunch of TVL because they launched this blast-like thing where it's like deposit onto our chain and then you can farm the Manta token. But it actually ended up creating an RFE situation. So what happens is you bridge to Manta and then you have to lock your ETH into a thing called Stone, and then you can't leave the chain. If you leave the chain, you won't get the rewards. So people have been trying to leverage by kind of selling their stone and then moving the ETH they sold back onto the chain. So you get a lot of bridge volume, or you move a lot of volume onto Manta. But then stone ended up trading below its value in ETH. So I think right now it trades at something like a 9% discount. So I would take a look there. But um, if everything goes well and they unlock all the stone, which they said they're supposed to in mid-March, then it would be like a 9% return in ETH in just a few months. And then if you compound that across the entire year, that ends up being something like a 40-50% APR. So I think it's like a pretty good way to just earn ETH yields. Small cap just messaged me asking if I can hear him, so let me join again. Hey, you here? Small cap? Okay, if you're back, just speak. Okay, I will keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. But you're gonna have to speak a little louder or you come out really quiet. Anyway, that little spiel maybe can lead us into some RFV stuff. So next RFV project I was looking at is PLS ARB. So I've accumulated a good chunk of PLS ARB. Basically, what happened was Plutus launched a liquid ARB locking thing, and honestly, that makes no sense right now because you can't even stake the ARB. But they managed to get like I think it's something. Well, if the FDV right now of PLS ARB is 10 mil, then it sounds like 20 mil, but off my mind, that sounds really high. But they managed to get a lot of ARB locked in as PLS ARB. But it currently trades at 0.55 ARB per PLS ARB. So, but it's backed by one ARB. And the ARB is completely liquid, sitting in their multi-sig. And the tradable token is trading at half of that. So what they say they're going to do is they're going to put up a proposal for Arbitrum to unlock ARB staking. And what happens with ARB staking is you stake your ARB and you get paid ARB emissions. Right now, you don't get paid any rewards from the sequencer or anything like that. They expect those ARB emissions to be enough for people to lock up their ARB for a year or 2 years or however long they may be. So Plutus is going to lock all of the underlying ARB in this ARB staking thing, and PLS ARB holders will get those rewards. So currently, if ARB staking paid like a 30% APR in ARB, then PLS ARB would pay a 60% APR because it trades at half. So for every one ARB you buy of PLS ARB, for every one ARB you spend, you'll get 2 PLS ARBs. You'll end up with double the rewards. Now, they think this will be enough to bring PLS ARB back to a healthy peg, hopefully like between like 0.8 to 1, and that's kind of the trade I'm taking. And in my mind, if they do launch ARB staking and it does have good yields, I do think it'll work because it's like, why lock your ARB for a year when you can instead use this liquid locker and get even higher yields in native ARB than you would get from locking your own ARB for a year, especially if you're going to be locked anyway. So I think it'd be a no-brainer to buy something like PLS ARB if the ARB locking launches. Now, the reason it trades at 0.5 is because, yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Okay,
Perfect.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Entire laptop just crashed, so I started on a new system, but sorry about that.
You want to turn on your video?
No, it's not going to work.
Okay.
I'm on a different system.
We'll
That's
just
my
run
fault,
you.
though.
We'll just
Laptop
run you with audio. All good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just talking about PLS ARB trading at half of the underlying ARB, and I was explaining how they expect it to get back to peg. Now, I'm saying that if they are unable to launch a good ARB staking mechanism and that doesn't work, then I don't think this is a zero or we're screwed forever. Although people really distrust the Plutus team because of how badly their previous products have done, I think their entire business relies on them proving that they are trustworthy. And in the worst case, they hopefully will do something to take care of PLS ARB/ARB holders that trusted them with their ARB. If there's no way to lock it, then maybe they'll start letting people redeem or doing buybacks or something along those lines. But there's a large community that has started fighting for it. There's even a Discord of a PLS ARB community Discord of people that hold PLS ARB that want this to go back to peg. So in my mind, this is like a worst case in a year, this will get resolved. Best case, they'll launch ARB staking and this should trade higher than 0.5. So I've personally
Yeah,
bought a good chunk of this. And then a good way to hedge it also is borrowing ARB on Aave is very cheap. So if you go to aave.com, um, it's only like a few percent APR to borrow on the arbiter market. So sorry. Yeah, borrowing ARB here is only 1%. So it only costs 1% to borrow ARB. So what I also did was because some of it I want that like guaranteed 2x, or I just want the trade to be the change in peg instead of being exposed to ARB price. I just borrowed against like ETH or USDC and then swap ARB for PLS ARB. And I think that works pretty good because it's pretty cheap. And then if you stake the PLS ARB on Plutus's site, you'll get like 2% APR. But there's another thing called Timeswap. Um, and on Timeswap right now, they're paying really good emissions for the PLS ARB pool. So you can actually borrow ARB against your PLS ARB if you want to leverage it, which I wouldn't recommend doing, and I'm not going to do, but if anyone wants to, there's actually you get paid 16% to borrow because there's ESPLS emissions, so people use the product. And then if you want to lend, I'm also lending, but there's good yields here, like 12% in ARB or 3% in time. So it's a good place to put or use your PLS ARB. Just be aware of how TimeSwap works and make sure you take action before the deadline of March 6th, because if you just borrow and then don't repay your borrow before March 6th, you will lose all of what you borrowed, or all of what you yeah, all of it you put up as collateral to borrow, which would be the PLS ARB. But I think that's like a pretty good like midterm kind of RFE with a good 2x, as long as you trust the team and don't think they're gonna end up like rugging everyone, or you think that ARB staking will be decent and not something like 5% yields or something poor like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you
That's
still
one
doing
just
RFE
like
stuff otherwise?
me.
Yeah.
I do it every once in a while. You're definitely way bigger in that market than I am, and most of the time when I do it, I'm following some of you, like some of your calls. But I haven't seen much of it. There's a lot less out there than there was during like peak bear market. But I do like a lot of the plays that you can find under Treasury, just because there's such a good chance that like they come back to peg, especially if the markets do turn here over
Mm-hmm.
the next like 6 to 12 months. Like those are the ones that will fill that gap pretty quickly because you get single-sided staking rewards for a lot of them, and then on top of that, like so you're earning yield and you're closing that gap. Like it ends up being a pretty attractive play. Um, I will just say like on the Plutus one, like pretty disappointed on how that whole I want to say team has really pushed that project forward. It was something that I thought very early on that was going to do extremely well,
Yeah, I
but
fully
like
agree.
they just really haven't.
That's why I
There's
think so
I was
much
just
is
going
on
to
the
say there's
line
just
with this PLSR product because they have such little trust from their previous products and people are so unhappy with them, and they've signaled that they want to
yeah
launch more products, and they're obviously like American people, like they don't seem like scammers. Like you can hear Ethersoul's podcast right on Twitter. He seems like a regular bro. But if this PLSR product doesn't work, then I think Plutus is really screwed, both on the trust and kind of what they've done for their users' perspectives. So I think they'll fix it. Or at least
I think they
I'm
have
hoping
to.
they will.
Yeah, I almost feel like they have to, but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
They
I mean
have to.
that's just a perfect
Or the business
example
is
though,
dead.
like of
Like they have to.
like picking up a project very early on and like the risk that's associated. Like no matter how good you think a project's going to be and some of the ideas they have, like it does come down to execution and actually building some of this stuff. So,
Yep.
oh well,
Um,
keep moving forward on that one.
I agree. What about JPEG? Did you see Tetranode tweeted the JPEG'd RFV a few months back?
I did not. I have not followed JPEG. Um,
You might like it
so dive in.
because, yeah, you might like it because
I,
they actually have a bunch of convex. So a lot of the RFV is like, the RFV is basically
nice.
ETH, USDC, and convex. So like I'm like, oh, I'd be exposed to those assets anyway. So I bought a little bit of JPEG, not a lot because I don't know. In their Discord, I ask questions and things like that, but people seem like very against buybacks, which doesn't make much sense to me, especially if it trades so far below its value. But I have the math here, so I could show it. Um, but it looks like this. I don't know if you can see my screen. Maybe you can see it on the stream. But there is a total of like a $50 million treasury, and I think so. It puts the upside at, if you exclude the protocol owned JPEG, which obviously you should, it puts the
Yeah.
math at like 80% upside. And then if you include the protocol owned JPEG, which I think doesn't make sense, but hey, God knows what they're gonna do, there's still 30% upside. So I think the project is like
What's ETH
extremely
like? Is
undervalued.
that like is that
ETH,
like LSTs or what's ETH
yeah, it's like
like?
anything that's basically ETH. So they also have like some PETH of their own, but it is like real
Got it.
PETH, like backed by actual ETH. So that's why I just called it ETH like. Or sometimes they have like ETH deposited in what do they? The ETH deposited in various protocols to like mint against them. Oh, in Liquidity. Yeah, they have it in Liquidity, and then I think they have
Yeah.
some also in Prisma. They just did a vote for. So anything that's basically ETH. But yeah,
Damn,
so I think
that's
that's
pretty impressive.
pretty good because it's undervalued just for its treasury holdings, and the team says they're profitable because they essentially can use the yields from their convex to pay their salaries. So there's not really like, it's not really like the treasury is shrinking, it seems to be only growing. And then they're also launching new products. So they're talking about
How much
launching,
convex?
yeah, they're launching perps. NFT perps is what they keep alluding to, and lending against JPEG. So for me, it fits like the perfect the perfect all it checks all the boxes is what I'm trying to say, right? The the treasury is higher than the current market cap, so I know that it's a good trade on a book value basis. There are catalysts incoming, which are new, useful, good products like NFT perps and borrowing against the native asset. And the burn isn't crazy high because they claim to be profitable and are able to just use their yields to pay their salaries. So it's a project I'm pretty happy investing in. Also, I know that it's run by like Tetranode and JPEG'd God and those guys, so I'm like confident it's not going to end up being a rug. I know some people trust them less than others, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll rug, but I mean, I get what sometimes why people don't necessarily trust them. They can be unhinged. But
They
that's like
can be
2% of
unhinged.
circulating convex. That's pretty nuts, actually.
Yeah, they
Is
have
most of that
a good
locked?
chunk.
Uh,
I think it's
I
all
can.
locked, and they use it to vote for emissions to the PUSD pool. So
Got it.
PUSD
Okay.
actually, wow, there's so much alpha here. But
There's
actually, I think
there's some
PUSD
yields that
is
used
a
to be coming
great
from
farm.
PUSD.
Yeah, it's still a really good
Yeah.
farm. Like on
Yeah.
Convex right now, PUSD is paying 50% APR, which is really good. And the usually when you buy PUSD, you have to pay above peg because they use all the convex to ensure it has high
Yeah. I
yields.
sold mine
But it's
because of
below.
that.
Oh, there you go. But it's
It
actually below
is.
peg right now. I got some at like 0.95 the other day. So
That's so nice.
yeah, so that's some pretty good alpha. Is like some below peg PUSD that can then be used to farm convex at really high yields.
Wow.
I think it's a good setup.
That's great alpha. Honestly, anytime the market sends looking to PUSD, you can probably get it at a discount, and then that's like how you set yourself up for like stable yields when markets level off. You can get it at a discount. Oh, that's so nice. All right, I'll use that. It's still there's still liquidity. PUSD Frax is 500K liquidity at 95 cents. That's so good. Yeah, And I mean, it's not like the liquidity is going away or the rewards that it's paying out just because they own so much Convex. And like I would think if they're doing buybacks and stuff like that, if their plan is to pay salaries off of the CVX income, then like they're not gonna use that for buybacks. They'll probably sell ETH or USDC or something like that if they RFE it. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But
I don't know if
I
they
wouldn't
have
think they
to
touch that.
RFV or anything like that. Like Techno did tweet out the math. Sorry if there's like loud noise in the background. I actually have someone coming to help cut a tree at at a place I'm staying at, and it might get a little loud, so apologies about that. Um,
I don't hear it at all. Maybe
oh,
everybody
awesome.
else does, but I
Then
think
we're
you're
good.
good.
But yeah, I can bring up the curve pool, and you know what I hate about curve pools is how you can't see their prices on Deck Screener. So whenever I'm wondering what like a price
Yeah.
is when someone has liquidity, you have to use the curve UI, and it's like so annoying.
GM
But
Anon.
shit. But yeah, here you can see that PUSD, like if you go to PUSD USCC, it trades at like 0.97. So I think that's pretty good. And if you zoom out to like a longer time frame, it's basically always closer to 1. So this is the first time in a long time it's traded below peg. I'm not 100% sure why, so maybe don't ape in, like get in Discord and ask about it. I'll probably do that shortly before I buy more, but seems like a pretty good farm if you believe in the JPEG team and you think there's no funny business going on and it's all fully backed. That could be healthy.
I like it.
Yeah. Um, what about NFTX? Have you looked at NFTX recently?
I have not. I've not touched much NFT stuff, if I'm being honest. It's been. I do think that market's due for a nice comeback,
Yeah.
but I have not looked into much of that. So
Sweet. Yeah, I would
give
just
me the
give that
rundown.
give that a quick gander. I won't go into it to not waste too much time on it, but take a quick look at it. It's basically they have NFTX V3, I think, in testing right now, and it should be coming out pretty soon. And they've kind of been one of the most consistent projects in a long time. But outside of NFTX V3, they also have a massive Punks treasury and a massive ETH treasury, and all of that was not like VCs or anything like that. It was all in the initial bonding event. So it's all protocol owned, like token holder owned value, and the market cap is below its like Punk ETH USDC value. So it's another one of those like trades below book value, but has a really good catalyst incoming. So I think it's like in my mind, it's a less risky, good investment. So I've been buying some NFTX too. Um, and then last one on my RFV list is everyone's most either hated or loved, or obviously the most like stressful, crazy project in my mind is Concave, because Concave bought Fjord from them for $2 million, and now Fjord is suddenly like the hottest place to launch a project. I've seen it on my timeline like so many times. Um, they've done like hundreds of millions in volume, and Concave literally owns the entire thing. And Concave tokens are obviously very cheap and easy to come by. So I think, and then they also seeded Barachain from what they've been saying in Discord. So between Fjord and Barachain, I think if the Concave team doesn't rug the holders and actually delivers that value back to the Concave token, it could be a massive outcome. So I sold some Concave earlier, but I've been trying to buy more recently.
Interesting. I don't know much about Fjord, or however you pronounce it. I was looking at it now. I haven't bought anything on there as far as LBPs. I'll have to play with this. I mean, they have done a ton of volume. It's kind of
Yeah.
impressive.
Do you remember Copper Launch?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so Copper
I've used
Launch
Copper.
was Fjord, and it rebranded to
Oh,
it was
I
yeah,
have
it
used that.
rebranded.
That makes sense. 770 million in fundraise is stupid impressive, to be
Yeah,
honest.
right.
How much
So
that's
I
like single protocols.
Now you have to take that with a
But
grain of salt because a lot of it was last cycle. But
yeah,
even
that's
more
what I mean.
recently, they've done a few like multi-million-dollar raises in the last few weeks, and basically a lot of the stuff that launched on there was up only. So it's been a very pleasant outcome. I was pretty against them buying it because I thought, man, this project's kind of dead and they're just trying to lean on their old metrics. But it looks to have signs of a revival, and I think people are getting excited about it again. So Concave Fjord
Yeah.
and and the bearer chain, like that little setup, I think could work out well. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, this looks sweet. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. I didn't know Concave bought them, like Copper,
Yeah, they bought the whole
or
thing for
rebranded.
only $2 million. Like I'm pretty sure they could do a
That's
fundraise
nuts.
at like
Like
50
that's
mil FDV now. So it could be a huge
yeah,
outcome
easily.
if it were if the value comes back to concave holders.
Have they? Yeah, I was gonna say, have they hinted at that at all, or like, is there anything pushing you that like, hey,
I mean,
here's why I think it might come back to Concave, or just
I'm in
like
Discord like all the
sheer
time,
hope?
being like, reminder guys, concave holders bought this whole thing. Remind you guys, concave holders bought this whole thing. Um,
Love that.
Historically, like the concave team has been questionable. Like the entire treasury basically went to zero. But they say they've fixed
I
their
remember.
shit. They say they've gotten rid of all of the like people that were just salary draining. They say they have good folks on now. So I don't know. I think all you can really do is pray. I wouldn't bet too hard given the history, but I'm optimistic is what I would say.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
What else? Yield farming? Have you been doing any yield farming?
Uh, Not a ton. I've been starting to get back into yield farming. I think some of the like managed liquidity protocols are a little bit undervalued. I used Concentric. I think WAGMI that Danny's like relaunching is going to be a good yield farm, and it locks up a ton of liquidity. But I haven't done a ton just because the market's kind of been up only. But when it's up only, I'd rather have kind of single-sided exposure more than I really would like lose a bunch of IL just because prices were sending. But as we're like kind of plateaued, like I'm starting to like look into going those directions. But haven't done nearly as much as I would probably say you if you're farming PUSD and like Prisma and a lot of those other ones. I've been I've been more buying outright, and
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I have two
yeah,
stacks, so that's why I do both. There's like one, okay, only farm with this money stack, and one like let's take some risk on stack.
yeah, that's completely fair. And I think there's ways to get like that single sided exposure if you're using like LSTs and like pairing with ETH and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I haven't been doing as much. But I do think that it's good to have exposure there.
yeah.
Yeah. Where have you been
Um,
yield farming?
yeah, so I deposited in Athena, so I think that's a project probably worth looking at. But how can I bring up their Twitter? One sec. Have you looked at this yet, Athena?
I've heard of it. I haven't
Yeah.
spent any time on it.
So they have a 100 mil. They've got a 100 mil TVL,